Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, aka Kane Swaby, and we are back once again with the Powercast. And this time we are going to be recapping Power Book Two, Ghost, Season Two, Episode One, and this episode was called "Free Will is Never Free." That's a bit of a mouthful. That title, I might have to shorten it down to just Power Book Two, Ghost, it's a bit of a mouthful saying it all. But yeah, so I'm here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
What's up, indeed? And I'm also here with Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing, Dana?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing great. Can't complain.
Good. And yeah, we've been on a bit of a break since Raising Canaan. We did do an initial review of BMF at the start of, the first episode. We reviewed the first 4 episodes. But yeah, it was a great series. And, shouts to Stars for allowing us to see that early. It didn't work in our schedules to, cover it every week. But we will have like an end of season impressions, for you guys as well. Just to kind of, give our thoughts on what we thought the whole season and everything now that it's over. And then, hopefully with season 2, we'll be able to cover that, more hands-on as well. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Power is back. And I have some thoughts about this, this episode that we watched today. But I'm going to save it, some controversial thoughts, but I'll save it for a bit later. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into our takeaways where each of us, just talks about, the things that stood out to us in this first episode. And then we'll get to specific questions that we have, relating to the plots and storylines and everything. And, that's where we get deeper into the discussion. So let's get right into our takeaways. And I will go first since it's the first episode of season 2. So first thing I have here is, Tariq, at the start of the episode, he has to look out for his little sister, who I always forget that she exists, but yeah, she exists and she's growing up a lot now. And, Tasha is gone. She's in witness protection, as we know. And, now it's up to the grandma to look after, the daughter and everything. And Tariq, he goes to college. So, he kind of looks after himself and everything. But, it was kind of touching to see that, he still has that family member, because you see him wake up and he's got pictures of Raina next to him. And he's got pictures of, was it his mother? Yeah, him and his mother there as well. So, he still has that little connection to his family, with his sister being there. And now he kind of has to be the one to look out for her because obviously the grandma, she's got an alcohol problem, so yeah, it's cool to see how he, it's going to be good to see how he navigates that issue. And that issue right there set up what happened at the end a little bit, because obviously he wanted to connect with his mother, even though, he put her in witness protection, but now he has a need to kind of connect with her. And, that kind of plays into what happened at the end of the episode where, he thought, he was going to be speaking to his mother when that phone call came through. But, we'll get to it. But yeah, that was cool to see because it kind of grounded the character. It gave us a reminder of where he's at in life and the things he's lost and the consequences of his actions. We saw a lot of that throughout this episode, like the consequences of what he's done. We saw shots of Ghost in there, which me and Rich talked about. You see a lot of he's getting like flashbacks of these things like Jabari and Ghost and everything, and it's like it's bringing out that more human side of him. Like, so he's not just, a ghost. He's not just, Ghost with an emotionless version of Ghost. He's not that. He does, understand the consequences. And he talks about that in his class, the fact that you have to live with the consequences of your actions. So I like that they're really playing up that angle. So that was one of the things that stood out to me. And it's good to see Tate back, because I thought we might not see him until his show happens. So it's good to see that he's back, and his brother's back too. So that's good. And it seems like his storyline is basically going to be getting that governor's seat. So I guess he lost the campaign and everything, but that doesn't mean that he'll never be governor, because as we know from watching House of Cards, there's always a way for, someone to politic their way to that seat. So I guess he's going to do some very underhanded things in this season, and he's probably going to get help from people like Davis McLean and Sax and Tariq. He's probably like going to be interacting with the other characters to kind of, make these events unfold and work in his favor. And we now see that also Tariq, he went to Braden's, his father's gathering thing or whatever, and there was that guy there that he spoke to. So that might tie into Tate's story a little bit as well. So yeah, good to see Tate back. He's, great actor, great character. So I'm glad that he's in the mix this season as well. Because one of the things I like about Power is that you have that kind of hood, gangster type of thing. That's like the main ingredient. But then you also have like the corporate side of things, or the glamorous side of things, like you always have some other politics going on, whether it's the club or whether it's, the investigations or like, the lawyers and stuff like that. Like you always see different sides of the spectrum. So I like that. And yeah, I'll just touch on this briefly because I have a question related to this, but I find Monet's exit strategy interesting. So she wants to get out the game, but she wants to use Zeke as her way out. And basically, she wants the team to become his management, I think it's a very flawed strategy. And we're going to get into that later because I want to ask you guys specifically about that. So, but yeah, I find that pretty interesting because I thought she'd be able to come up with something a bit more, viable than that. Because she does show a lot of smarts. She does, she's an intelligent person, but it's like sometimes she just does these random stupid things or comes up with these silly ideas. It's like, maybe she has a bigger plan than that, and that's just what she's telling the children. We don't know, but yeah, that was something interesting. And I also think that Drew is going to go rogue in this season because it seems like he has some animosity towards Monet. He was talking to his sister about it. I forgot her name.
Diana.
Diana. There you go. Rich has all the names. So yeah, I think he's gonna go rogue. He's gonna definitely, he's gonna. At the moment, we see that that Kane is kind of the outcast of the family, but I think Drew is gonna go in that direction, and I think Kane might actually come back into the mix. That's what I think. And then also that part where they went deer hunting or whatever, and the guy shot at Tariq, like clearly he already hit the deer, and then he chose to take another shot at Tariq. Like I liked that they did that because it sheds light on the issue of racism, and because we saw Tariq put him in his place earlier in the episode, right? So it's like he kind of he's like, oh, I don't want this young black guy talking to me like that, and it's like he just used that moment as a means to take a shot. And what's up, Dana? You don't agree?
I interpreted. Am I okay? Yay! I interpreted that scene entirely different and that
Okay.
less. Yes, you can argue that it was about race, and very clearly you could tell in the first conversation. Look, I know the
Mm,
struggles of black people. The big white man, and that's nothing new. I interpreted it more as the power dynamic. Yes, you can argue there is racial undertones within the power dynamic, but it was more of the power dynamic as opposed to you little, N-word boy. Look what I can do.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could be right, but like I'm just talking like from my observations in life.
I
Like
didn't.
I know
You
I
brought
know
me
that
up. I didn't say you was right or wrong. Everything
I
I
know, I
said
know, I know.
before.
I'm just, you gave your perspective. I'm just giving mine, like,
You
and
asked
saying
me to.
saying why.
I didn't.
I'm explaining why, I think why I think, and it's like my experience in life is like guys like that, they don't like to be, broken down by, someone that looks like us. It's like, they take it as like something deep, something insulting. So it came across. I think it is a little bit of what you said too. Like I think that plays into it too. It's like a mix of things that kind of play into it. But yeah, uh, I think there's also that aspect to it also. But that's just me. We'll see what the people think. Also, everyone interprets things differently. That's what makes the show so good. So yeah, but yeah, that was interesting. And I like, Tariq, the way he reacted to it as well. It's like because I guess because he saw his murders when he looked at the deer, so it kind of took his mind away from, what happened in that situation. So, that was interesting. But yeah, I loved the fact that they found a way to put Red Man in there with Method Man. Like that was like this is starting to be like a it's starting to be like a love letter to 90s hip hop because you got Mary J. Blige, you got Method Man, and now you got Red Man in the mix as well. So yeah, that was great to see. And I wonder how, Red Man being in there, and now we see that Davis McLean wants to get him out of prison, and he wants to use sax to help him. So I wonder how that is going to affect, the dynamic between those two characters. And um, I know I've been, kind of talking for a long time, so I don't want to overstate my welcome here. But yeah, I'll let you guys, get your takeaways, and we'll come back to, the important points later on. So go ahead, Dana. What's your takeaways for the episode?
Well, one, no one's wrong in their interpretation of anything, so you are 100% right as well. Uh,
That wasn't an attack on you or anything. I was just, I wanted to get you because I saw, you had something to say on it. I wanted to get your thoughts in there as well.
So the entire episode, it kind of encapsulated with what I love about this show and how they handle it is that each lesson that Tariq is being taught in college, it kind of explains everything that's going in the episode.
Hmm.
So it wraps everything together, so nothing really feels like it's separate. And with this episode, it's bringing together everything that we've kind of learned from the first season. So this one was about free will and whether or not we have free will or that it's pre predestined basically for everyone. And there was a concept that Tariq brought up in saying that there are parts that are predetermined and there are parts that aren't at all, and you're going to have to prepare for those parts that aren't predetermined. With the example of using the street light, you still look both ways when crossing the street. Whether or not if you think you're going to get hit or something, you just wouldn't look. You would just stay in your position, but you don't. And with this one, it seems like everyone is trying to break away from a pattern that was set before them, or they're continuing in the same pattern. And with that said, you have Monique and you have the family. There was an interesting part where remember the shopping spree that Monique and her daughter Diane, I think Diane, went
Diana.
on?
Hmm.
Diana, and you literally can see Diana following everything that Monique has and is doing. So what she brought, she's looking at as well, and the mom says, "No, you look good in that one. You're not going to wear that." She doesn't wear it, and it's more saying, not saying, I respect your opinion, but I'm going to listen to what you're saying because you have determined my decision for me. So you have that one idea with that. And then you have also with Tariq trying to, well, whether or not he wants to follow in his family footsteps with the whole Ghost situation. We know Ghost was the big drug dealer and the organizer and everything else. And we see him really struggle with that concept that even though Ghost is dead, Ghost is still with him mentally. And he's trying to break away, but it's still the same cycle over and over that he's repeating. You have that, and then you also have with Braden. Was it Braden? Brandon?
Yeah.
Braden? Yes. So with Braden, you have also the concept of the family. And you see that everything that Braden is going through with the family, and remember how they kind of entice him? Here's a new car, but what are the strings that are attached with the car that he has to follow with the family? And you have when he brought in Tariq as being that outsider, having that difference of opinion, how councilman, I think it was the councilman, I can't remember his name, it's in my notes, but
Yeah.
the councilman, Councilman Rick, looking at him is like, oh, look at this outsider thinking he belongs. And him, even though Tariq is putting him in his place, the congressman is still trying to say, oh, look, but I can still hunt you down like the black person you are in the middle of this woods. And that, we've seen that done many times, and there's many concepts about that over race and everything else. So that was really interesting with that. And also it reminded me of a movie that Ice-T starred in, where it was literally a black man being hunted. They was hunting him throughout the whole movie by a bunch of white guys for fun. So that
I remember
was
that movie.
yeah.
I can't remember the name.
Can't
of it,
remember
but
the
I
name
remember
either, but that was very interesting. I liked how that's what it originally reminded me of. So then you have with Braden, him not wanting to follow in that family footsteps, and he comes from the money, he comes from power, he comes from everything, and him instead having a conversation with Tariq saying, this is why I like dealing drugs. It reminds me of something that's completely separate from my family. And you have also the irony of, hey, oh yeah, those drug dealers, those black ones, they're really awful. And then Tariq bringing up, yeah, but what about the opioids? It's the same thing. But no, those are bad drugs. Those are the illegal ones. We do the legal ones. And also you have Braden literally right there, who is not exactly dealing in, some vitamin supplements. So I really liked how that played with that dynamic. And then you have the whole concept with Diane at the very end with the other brother saying that they want their way out. I don't know whether or not their way out is going to still be involving the drug game. I do know in the preview they have that conversation as they're like preparing for something with the drugs. But I don't know what it is that they want outside, and it kind of does seem like not. We already know there are members of the family who does not want to be a part of that drug life, and so that breaking away and having the free will, and you knowing that you're going to have to go up against some heavy consequences in order to do that. Then you have the brother who I cannot remember these names because I really wish they had like flashbacks with names, but the brother who was kicked out of the house. He is now, you can say-ish, he is under the wing of, what was it, Meat? I don't want to say Meech. He's
Mecca.
Mecca. Sorry, I have notes. I have notes though. He is.
It's all good.
He is under. We do know that he ends up being under the wing of Mecca, and him, But when you're under the wing of someone, you have to follow them still. So that I just really liked overall the concept of that. And then we also have dealing with Carrie, her little dum self, the struggle with Jabari trying to think he can break away and be free and have his own side hustle, and how that backfired miserably. As we all know, he's now dead. Do not rest in peace, because I just don't like him. So with that concept with Carrie running around with the boy, basically, because that is her student again. Why is it so hard for her just to find someone who won't get her in trouble? But you have her kind of struggling with the in between. She's still holding on to that relationship and that past, and even when she was able to find out that Jabari was dead, which the whole school ended up finding. She's still on the hunt. She's still attached to him. What happened? Oh my gosh. So in a way, you could say she is following a ghost. So That's why I liked what they did overall with the theme. And also, I really wanted to point out the music. They were undertones that they did with like it was like a quick little ding ding ding. Anytime someone got paranoid, especially with Monet, when she got really paranoid, how they it felt like it was something out of Halloween with the music. Remember the music go so they used kind of the same notes but a different sound. So
Yeah.
I really liked that as well. That really stood out for me. So those were my very quick thoughts, and it was very much stronger. This first episode was very much stronger than I would have to argue maybe the first season. They're improving. I'm liking this. Also, Monet got a better wig.
Yes, she did.
Budget.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I thought those
Yeah.
were excellent. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so great takeaways there, as Rich was, about to say. So yeah, get right into Rich's takeaways. So take it away, Rich.
Okay, yeah, excellent takeaways from both Dana and Gary, as always. So I want to respond to a few things that Dana said, and I have 3 takeaways. First and foremost, the music, because I noticed that as well. That's a song by Tyler, the Creator. Yeah, it's called Who That Boy, because they played it at the end of the episode. He did that with Rocky, ASAP Rocky, or they call it ASAP Rocky.
Unique.
Unique.
Oh no, that's not Unique.
No.
I always get him. I get ASAP and
that's
Joey Badass. Yeah, I get them mixed up. Like, my bad.
No. But yeah, pretty much. I also like how they played that song in there because it's a really good song. But yeah, it perfectly sets the tone for people being paranoid. So excellent job on that. So my 3 quick takeaways are that first and foremost, let's talk about Tariq. Michael Rainey Jr. once again doing a good job as the character. I mentioned earlier that I like how he's able to have these slick mouth conversations where he puts people in his place, but yet he also is still flawed himself, which is a good reflection on everybody because everybody has their own flaws. But that it lets you know, yes, he is aware of, that he's still pretty much young in this game. He's going to make mistakes. So I like that they portrayed that. What I also find interesting is that, last season, the side story going on with him was about his mom, and he was always concerned about what's going to happen with Tasha. So they have the family drama dynamic continuing into this season because the whole issue is with his sister now, and the fact that she's being watched by her grandmother, who obviously has a drinking problem, because they mentioned that at the beginning of the episode when he asked Yaz after the interaction with the grandmother, she's been drinking again. So I think he's trying to get in contact with his mom because he wants to let her know what's happening with her mother, and we need to do something about Yasmin immediately. I think that is a very realistic approach because it shows that the grandmother was hit hard by what happened to her daughter. So it was important to put that in there to show, number one, to bring back his sister because she is a part of this story as well. As both of you said, we haven't seen much of her even on the regular Power show. You saw her every so often. We did see a little bit more of her last season, but still not quite enough. So I'm glad that they're making her a part of this story now because it shows that Tariq has to deal with not only the drama going on at school, not only the drama going on with Monet, but also his own family issues as well as far as what's happening in that household. So very good job to put that in there. My second takeaway has to do with Lorenz Tate returning. I also agree with what Gary said. Glad to see him come back. But again, a great job of the writers to give him a purpose this season because this season is not just about Tariq. It's also about the origin story, so to speak, of how Tate gets himself back into the governor's running because the whole interaction that Tariq had with the congressman. Now, I believe his name is Rich Sweeney. We'll just call him Congressman Sweeney. All right. That whole interaction I felt was basically, yes, it sets up the dynamic that Tariq is going to have to be the one to help Tate eventually find out some dirt on this guy and get him out. And again, that's important because Tariq will probably need Tate's help as this investigation deepens with Jabari, because Tate is still the congressman. I mean, he's still the governor, well, the congressman. He's not governor yet. So he can still do something. I'd say, maybe put on a press conference and say, yes, this Tariq guy is a great kid or whatever. It's something to that effect. But they're going to help each other out. That's the only reason why I think, I know, Gary, you mentioned that it's probably going to be Davis McLean, and et cetera. I definitely think it's going to be Tariq, because for some reason they still have.
Oh yeah, Tariq too, for sure.
Yeah, Tariq, because you did mention Tariq as well as someone that's possibly going to help him too. I think definitely Tariq, because they have a connection because of James and because of the past that they have with that character. So I see that coming for sure. So we'll look forward to that. Glad to see Lorenz Tate come back as well as his brother. They did an excellent job when they was on the show, so I look forward to seeing that storyline progress forward. And my final takeaway, it has to do more so with Monet, and I agree with what you said, Gary. I don't like the exit strategy. Mary J. Blige, I don't necessarily think that she's the best actress, but she was very good at being paranoid this entire episode. So I think that was good, because she still is obviously dealing with what happened with Drew. And I agree with a lot of what Dana said, that yes, this character will go out on his own this season, because the actor did say himself that when he did return to the show, he said that character was going to be more of a monster. Didn't really know what that meant at the time, but you saw that he did attempt to get back into drawing in this episode. He wasn't able to draw. So it's because of what happened to him and the fact that he's still dealing with that wound. So I think you're definitely going to see a lot of that stuff come to a head this season. I think it's very obvious that a lot of these things are going to change within the family dynamic, and I think that Dana made a good point that I believe, Dana, you did say Kane is going to probably be the one that comes back into the family. Well, both you and Gary made points about that. That it's probably going to be Kane that comes back, and Drew is going to go out on his own. That's going to definitely happen, I feel. But it's not a good exit strategy. We know that this stuff with Zeke is not going to work out. So it's a question of how it's going to unravel, because it's not going to work out. And as far as Mecca is concerned, they pretty much alluded to, when they said that this guy was going to be on the show, that he's also going to be a new love interest for Mary J. Blige. So that tells me that eventually they are going to work together. Kane, when he approached her at the end of the episode, it was to say, hey, I have a new connect. And Mecca is the person that he pretty much is trying to get connected to her. So that's going to happen. But we'll see what happens as the story unfolds. But overall, I thought it was a very good episode. It sets up the season perfectly as far as the explanation of what's happening. So I look forward to seeing what happens next week. But a good premiere, I would say, for sure. Oh, go ahead, Dana.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just forgot. I forgot one thing I wanted to mention, which was the fact that Monet's plan, we all know, sucks, but it was a very interesting concept that Monet was very closed in the first season, and that we're starting to learn more about her. And it seems that we've seen her as being powerful and she's able to run things, but she's also someone who uses her children in order to get ahead. Mm-hmm. The whole planning of we'll just go and Zeke will sign up for the draft and automatically thinking he'll get in and be the best basketball player there ever was. But it's not a sign of like, I'm encouraging you because I love you and I see your talent and your skill. It's more of, I'm using you so we can take your money and we'll all be happy and we can do whatever it is that we need to do so we can get out of the game. And it's not getting out of the game because I'm afraid for my protection and my family. I want my family to be secure and protected and no longer be part of this. It's just more of, I don't want to get caught. Mm-hmm. So... Yep. I remember I kept saying from the first season, something's off with her children. And I think that was it. It's the concept of her using those kids in order to get ahead in life, which makes me wonder about her past and her upbringing. Did they use Monet and her skill set when she formed her business? Did they use her in order to get ahead. And is that the reason why she became a drug dealer that she is today? So, and also that goes with the concept of if things are predetermined or not. You're automatically saying that someone is going to be successful and it's going to be great and we're going to live off of their money. But we also do see the other side effect where Zeke has not been practicing that well. He's not that good at all. And even he doesn't believe that he can make it into the drafts. So that is very interesting. And I wanted to know how that will end up playing in the sense of, will Zeke he's been trying to tell her the truth, but what will happen with Zeke and also being pressured behind that? And if he does not fail, what then happens to Monet and the family? I don't think she really cares that much about the family, but what then will happen? So, yeah, that's all I wanted to know.
So that is actually the first question I was going to ask, related to that exact topic. So, thank you, Dana. Great points. So I'm going to, go right ahead to Richard Bailey Jr., So, yeah, the question was like, how will Monet's plan, work out during the course of the season, with her, trying to get Zeke to, get into the draft and everything like that and go pro. So, based on what Dana was saying, like, what's your thoughts on that whole storyline?
Well, let me start off by saying, once again, I applaud Power for trying to make some stuff realistic, because the guy that Zeke actually played with, that is a basketball player. His name is Emeka Okafor.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's an actual basketball player. He's not playing anymore, but back in the day, he was in the draft as well. So they are making the attempt to make this a realistic thing. It's not just some random actor they got to play a basketball player. He's an actual basketball player. So shout out to them for that. But to answer your question, yeah, it's not going to go as planned, I feel. And I believe a very good point that Dana made throughout this podcast so far, when you talk about the free will thing, when Tariq made that comment in the free will, and as he was talking about this stuff, them showing the montage of when Diana was in the store, she had on this dress, and mom said, no, you can't wear that. With the Monet character, she still is controlling of the kids. Like, she wants to get out of the business, but she's still telling the kids what to do. So it definitely reinforces the theory that Drew and Diana are going to find their way out from under her, because anytime, if you're a parent, if you're telling your kids not to do something, then they're probably going to be rebellious if you constantly telling them you don't do this, don't do that type of stuff. So in this situation here, I think she just assumes everything is going to work out with Zeke. He's going to be a top pick, and therefore she doesn't have to worry about anything. And the thing is, Zeke has distractions because of Carrie, the woman that he loves. I don't know if she feels the same. Obviously, it ain't really in too deep with that whole concept, but that cannot work out, and it will not work out. So I kind of feel like that's a distraction that will prevent him from getting involved. But also the fact that he was very vocal with Carrie as well in this episode, telling her again about all the stuff that's happening, and then goes back to Monet and questioning whether or not she was involved in what happened with Jabari. All of that will backfire, because even if it's not something whereas he isn't able to go to the NBA because of the stuff going on with Carrie, he can still very easily get caught in the crosshairs of all the stuff that's happening in the drug game as well, because of who he's associated with. So either way, this thing with Zeke is not going to work out. It's a question of how are they going to tell that story? What path are they going to go down? Because there's a lot of different paths they can take. But Monet just thinking that this is all going to work out, it's not gonna happen that way. And it's because she is a control freak, thinking she can always control certain things. That's why I thought it was a great idea to start off this season and have the title of the episode the way it is, and really emphasize free will, because I think that will set the tone. Just like Tariq said, a lot of things are predetermined, so there's some stuff that you know is going to happen this season, but then there's other stuff that you have no idea what's going to happen. So yeah, but to answer the question, yeah, that's not going to work out the way that Monet thinks it is going to work out. Definitely not.
Yeah, go ahead, Dana. You're muted. You're still muted. And now you're frozen.
Uh-oh.
technical difficulties. You good, Dana? You still like put your thumb up now if you can hear what I'm saying. Okay.
Still muted.
So you're still muted, so we can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, so I guess we'll carry on until we figure this out.
Yeah, you may have to come back in I guess. I don't know if you have to restart. Try that. Go ahead, Gary. I guess you say something.
Yeah, I did try to unmute her myself as well, but yeah, I don't know what's going on. So I think like there's so many other ways. Like if you really want to get out the game, like so many ways to go about it. Like why are you putting all this pressure on Zeke? You know, and clearly we saw he was a bit hesitant in this episode. Like he doesn't know if he really wants to go down that road. So it's like, why are you basing, you know, your whole family's success and progression on, you know, this one thing like Zeke playing ball? Because, you know, we know the statistics. Not everyone makes it. You know, there's so many players around the country and only a few get drafted, you know, like only a small few in comparison to the total number actually get drafted and become a success story and everything like that. So it's not like a solid idea in the first place. And there's so many other things you could do, like, you know, because obviously they just got a bunch of new bricks to sell or whatever. So you can use the money you make from that and, you know, flip it into, you know, real capital. So, you know, launder the money somehow or buy some sort of product, some legal product that you can sell. And then start a legit business from that, you know, whether it's, you know, you can sell hair, you could sell sneakers, trainers, you know, whatever. Like there's so many hustles they could do to get themselves legit that work better as a long-term strategy than relying on Zeke, you know, which is more of like a gamble because you don't know how he's going to perform. You know, you can try and do the best for him. You can try and support him, but I wouldn't put your whole family structure, you know, on that one thing. And this is a real thing that happens as well. There's been plenty of movies about this where, you know, athletes are kind of forced into, you know, a situation like where they have to play and they have to, you know, base their whole existence on trying to make it in the professional system. You know, and that's a lot of pressure for some people, like, because there's a lot of people who don't want to do that, but they feel kind of forced into it by their family. So, I mean, it's good that we're going to get that story in this because it's going to shed light on that, you know, that whole situation. But yeah, I just think Monet, like, I don't know, I do believe what Dana's been saying, that there's some kind of manipulation, you know, with her and her children, the way she controls them, you know, it's like so manipulative, like she's so involved in their lives and their, you know, their everyday existence. So that's why, you know, I definitely think Drew is going to kind of break the mold a little bit, you know, and hope maybe he'll even help Diana kind of get her independence from Monet a little bit, because she gets straight up bossed around by Monet like nonstop, like, and it's kind of sad to see sometimes. But Dana, are you good now? Say something real quick.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, we see you in two panels.
You see two of you. Yep.
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 So let me try and kick one of these. Let's see. There we go. Can you say something now? Oh, I probably kicked the wrong one. I probably should have kicked.
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's try this. Say something now.
There you go.
I still see. Am I okay?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little.
Okay.
Say something again.
Still see two.
There's only 3 on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. It's a little choppy, but we hear you.
Okay, let me know when you can hear.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now? I can hear double Gary.
Double me? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know what's going on. It's very interesting. I'm sorry for all of this, but I just wanted to quickly say,
Yeah.
I wonder if Mo to be so concentrated with Zeke and what he's going through that she's gonna be able to not see the brother who the son she keeps.
Wait, hold on,
kicked
Dana,
out.
one sec. Can you actually go off camera? Because then maybe your sound will be good, but you know, I think your internet just needs to catch up a little. So maybe if you turn off the camera.
Hold on. Just keep going without me until I figure this out from the back end.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Rich, anything else you anything else to add to what I was saying? Like, about the pressure that's being put on Zeke, and then also the fact that Monet's like Diana and Drew is like their every action is like dictated by Monet. Like, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that I know oftentimes it is portrayed, the whole storyline of the NBA draft is that there's a player that gets drafted and it's always a happy ending. The player, is on TV, they have their suit, they announce what team they're going to, and then that's it. Rarely do you see a story where someone is undrafted or just it's completely unsuccessful. And I think that is the direction that they're going to go this season. Now, again, he could still get drafted, but I just kind of feel like it is a poor exit strategy because, at this point, Monet, I mean, I understand the paranoia of wanting to get out the drug game after what happened with Drew, obviously, and he's still not very happy about that either, as we saw in this episode. And Monet feels bad that he got shot as well. But at the end of the day, I do agree with what you said, Gary. There has to be another way that you can find a viable means of income. It can't just be coming from, doing drugs and then having to rely solely on one other person. And because then at that point, he has all the power to dictate certain things. You think just because he becomes a drafted player, now you're going to control his life? Absolutely not. So it's a very poor strategy. I think Monet definitely needs to think a lot bigger. And that's why I say, Mecca obviously will be the one that I think she's going to have to end up eventually working with, just because it feels like it's going to head in that direction either way. Because we saw that Kane went to go stop by Monet's place at the end of the episode, and he was monitoring that whole situation. So we'll see what eventually happens. But the whole thing with the controlling of the kids, I do agree with what Dana said. It does feel as though Monet has some type of inner trauma that she's dealing with as well. And hopefully we get an answer to that as the season goes on. The last point I want to make, though, which I find very interesting, is that there was that comment made that when the whole exit strategy, she wasn't even talking about Lorenzo, father. And that was what the kids were mentioning as well. So again, it feels like, and we saw this last season, the tension between Lorenzo and Monet, that's probably going to really come to a head as well this season. So we'll see what happens. Dana, she's back.
I'm back. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. What I wanted to say is that it was really interesting how, like we said before, Monet was so caught up in Zeke, but she's ended up ignoring her son, her other son that she kicked out, and the new deal that he's trying to make in order to get back in with the family. Mm-hmm. I think because she is so blind with her hatred and her focus on Zeke and her inability to think outside of whatever box or just to listen to people, that she's going to end up driving the son away even more, to the point where he is able to probably accumulate connections by using Mecca and running with Mecca, that he could actually be the way out. No, not out, but a different direction that they can take.
Mm-hmm.
And this is gonna, I feel, could backfire on both them and the family, who decides to follow along with Monet. So breaking away from Monet, which we know the two of the kids want to do, could probably be their best option, which then makes me wonder, where does Monet end up in season 3? You know, there's other things that's going on, but in concern with her family, with her children, that I think it could be a really interesting concept that they are building upon.
Very, very good. Very, very good observation. Seeing how he was the one that was thrown out as the outcast, that would be a very interesting situation if he ends up becoming the one that, oh, I'm the one that now has all the connections and everything, and you need me. So,
you look at.
Go ahead, Dana.
No, I just wanted to say really quickly, if you look at the dynamic of the kids right now, Zeke is caught up with Carrie and Carrie is caught up with the cops, right? Carrie's the one who can feed in information to both sides. And Carrie's so caught up in, I need a man right now, that she could end up helping Zeke, who in return could help whatever it is that he's trying to do, whether how he wants to be with the family. Remember, he's been separated from everything. So that's one information that she doesn't really know of what's going on there. Even though Monet comes to Zeke and was like, stop talking to Carrie. He's a very vital source. So I feel, maybe, don't know, Zeke could be also driven away by his mother through her actions. So you have that going on over there. Then you have the other son that she completely kicked out. Remember, she wouldn't open the door at all. She came to the door with the gun, was like, yeah, and so what if I shot you? Never opened the door, and went on about her way. So that disconnects her from another son. Diana wants to get out and break away. So she's really at that isolating moment. So if you look at that moment where she was paranoid throughout the first episode, I think that that's something that they're building upon and actually could be based in some truth right now. Maybe not at this moment, but down the line, there is something to be paranoid about because you don't have anyone who's protecting you. You have the guy who, he was in jail. The other guy's dead. You abandon your children. Who does she have?
It's only the kids.
Our kids.
Yep. That's
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, and that's why, like, she probably needs Kane more than she, understands at this moment. But yeah, like, getting to the next question, because that kind of ties into what you were talking about. So we saw that, Mecca was watching as Kane, went to the house and everything. So, the question is basically like, do you think Mecca is basically going to overstep Kane and just go right to Monet to try and set up a deal with her? Because, like, if she's still going to be, for the time being, let's assume that she's probably still going to have that deal with Tariq where, Tariq is selling the drugs through, the app and everything, right? And, once they sell what they've currently got, he's probably going to want to, re-up. So he's going to come back, for more products. So even though she has an exit strategy, she still needs to stay afloat for the time being. So do you think, her and Mecca are perhaps going to strike a deal in the next episode? Like, because I think he might overstep Kane and just go right to her. Like, and that might put him, in a bad kind of situation with Kane. But Kane doesn't really have a lot of power at the moment to kind of step to a dude like that. So what do you think about that, Dana? You had something to say?
I did have something to say. That's a nope.
Okay.
Absolutely nope. I view it as this. Mecca's not stupid. And Mecca, I feel, in the industry that they're in, you're going to have to start using some people. And you can't overstep certain boundaries, not because you respect them, but because of how it'll work out for you in the long run if you don't. If you take Kane right now and you know that he's angry and frustrated with his mama, and I believe that he is going to probably end up getting closer to Mecca, as view him as someone who, you're accepting me. He has to fight for it, obviously, what we saw during this episode. You have to fight to belong with Mecca, but he is at that vulnerable stage where he's looking for someone to to accept him, and I would say be his mentor. And I think in order for that to do that, you need to cut out Monet. And also it helps to build with that paranoia with Monet as well. And remember, he presented the opportunity, Kane presented the opportunity to Monet, but she refused to listen. So it doesn't make any sense for like, oh, it's the same opportunity, but now it's through Mecca. I think that this should be something that is a completely missed opportunity. I think that Monet is in a position where no one's thinking about her. And that also builds up that storyline with her as well. So I see Mecca and Kane getting closer. I see them running a business together. Yes, they have to build on that trust for both sides. But the biggest way for someone to trust, for Kane to feel like they're being trusted, is not to go in and tell their mama. So, no.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think, Rich? What do you think is going to come from the fact that, Mecca was sitting outside watching? Like, where do you think that's going next?
So I think you both made some good points. The Dana says Mecca could just be observing. The reason why I would think that eventually Mecca is going to be the one to overstep Kane is because the whole scene in this episode when Kane had to prove himself to Mecca by killing this other guy that they captured. And he saw Kane, the guy got a good couple shots in before Kane killed him. So, Kane didn't look too like he had everything together when in that fight. But after that, they had the scene where Kane finds Mecca's stash and Mecca's like, what the hell are you doing? Basically trying to put him in his place and said, listen, you want to be my partner. You have to earn this opportunity. This show Power is essentially about people gaining power in positions being changing and being placed as time goes on. I eventually see Kane, he will do whatever he can to get close to Mecca, as Dana said, learn whatever intel he can. But once he gets in a position of power, I don't think it's out of the question to see him take out Mecca because it's about the evolution of the character. As you said, Gary, he doesn't have any leverage right now this season. Obviously, he's involved in this whole thing with Tariq, and they had their little conversation in this episode as well about this whole thing with Jabari. Is this going to come back on us? All this other stuff, right? So I think that as the season goes on, Kane is going to get his footing, and he's going to gain some level of power. So Mecca, while Mecca is somebody who can use people for information, I think Kane is going to try and do the same as well to try to get close to Mecca, and from there be focused on his own empire, because we know that Kane, he is the one that wants to continue on with Lorenzo's legacy. Obviously, they didn't have the best of interactions the last season, because remember when he made sure he got hit, he got whooped as well in the jail cell. So I kind of feel like we'll get an answer to that. But I think that the end game here is that obviously they'll probably be using each other to get information. And from there, we will see what happens. But I feel like the story ends with Kane getting the upper hand on Mecca. Only because so far, because of the exchange they had at this episode, and how Mecca obviously is somebody who isn't in a position of power. Kane is not there yet, but he can get there, but he's going to have to take certain means to get there. But it can go in any direction, but we have to see. But, no, go ahead. Dana's going to say something, then I think
No,
you say something.
it's a question for you, though. It's like, in order for Kane to get power, he has to get rid of his mama. You can't be up under your mom's boob every 5 seconds if you want to have power in the same business that she's in.
That's where it gets complex, because I have some theories on that. So, did you have something else you wanted to add to that, Dana, before I go?
Well, I just wanted to add and say that I see this whole thing purposely backfiring on Monet. Mm-hmm. And, he is going to realize there are more people outside of this sort of you that can teach me about this business and who I can succeed. I can supersede. And that I don't need you. So that would be a really interesting thing. And I also do wonder if Mecca is going to see that and use him against Monet. I mean, we're only in the first episode.
Yeah, exactly. So can I make a quick comment? Yeah, those are good points, and that could certainly happen. I think the problem is with the first episode is you're led to believe now Monet wants out. She doesn't want anything to do with what's happening. So I don't know what her position is at the moment. Yes, she did talk with Tariq and gave him the bricks to sell at the end of the episode, but she does not want the kids to get. She doesn't want Drew to get killed or any of this other stuff. So I don't know what her position is. And then when Kane came to the door, she didn't want to have anything to do with him. Didn't want to talk to him. So I'm kind of like under the impression that she already has isolated him and doesn't want nothing to do with him. I don't know if that means that she just wants this thing to move on and not be involved. But I guess we'll have to see as the storyline progresses. But I agree 100% what you said, Dana. That can certainly happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. So like you said, it's the first episode and they're just planting the seeds. There's so many ways it can go. Mm-hmm. But I want to say that I agree with what Rich was saying, that, Kane doesn't have any leverage right now, which was my point, exactly. Like he has no power at the moment to kind of, cross Mecca, but he can develop that, he can gain leverage, throughout the season. So I do agree that, there probably will come a time where Kane is able to cross Mecca, like, and whether that means taking him out or having Mecca be beneath him, like, work for him or something. So the wild card here, because Dana, you said that, what's his name? Kane is always going to be beneath his mother, because, he's her son, but the wild card here is Tariq. So we know that, Kane and Tariq now have an established sort of friendship. Like they covered up a murder together. Uh-oh. And, in the world of power, that means you built a bond with each other. When you cover up a murder, like that's a real sacred thing, in the universe of power. So
wait, hold on, Gary. Can I just make a comment?
Oh yeah, the picture.
Why is it like Tariq is just completely ignoring Kane, looking off while Kane is talking like whatever? I don't care what you're saying. That's a funny picture, but continue.
That's foreshadowing what's to come. Like that's a foreshadowing right there, because Tariq is going to be Ghost. Like he's going to command Kane at some point. Yeah. So Tariq is going to be what? Yeah, they need to bring him back, man. Ghost is coming back. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
As a ghost, he'll be back.
No, there's gonna be a prequel series of him and Tommy. But yeah, so yeah, Tariq. I think Tariq is gonna be what helps Kane gain that power that he's been kind of thirsty for, and I don't know where that leaves Monet. But I do think Tariq is going to be making a lot of power moves, power plays throughout this season. And the only thing that's threatening him is what we saw happen, at the end of this season, which we're going to get to. But yeah, there's so many, like they did one thing they did a good job of in this episode was planting seeds, because they definitely planted a lot of them. So now it could go in so many ways. So yeah, they did a great job with that. But yeah, any final thoughts on that before we get to the next sort of question, regarding Kane and the Tajada family and Mecca? Okay, cool. So yeah, so before we get to Tariq, I wanted to ask you guys, do you think, like, we saw Carrie's reaction to Jabari, in this episode, and she was very hurt by it. She was scared because she thought Monet had something to do with it because she was threatening her and everything. So I want to ask you guys, do you think Carrie is going to either play a big part of the investigation that's going to happen, or is she going to like maybe carry out her own investigation, like some private investigation type stuff to find out what really went down, kind of thing? Like, what do you think her role is going to be in this whole thing, and because obviously Tariq, you know, he's opened up a can of worms, and there's going to be a lot of police at the campus now. So what is Carrie's role in this going to be? Because we see that she kind of has that, you know, she has a direct line to that investigator dude or whatever. So she's a very dangerous person, and I don't, well, to Tariq, she's a very dangerous person, but I don't think Tariq has it in him to do anything about her if she comes snooping. So, so you know, my question is, how will her role play out? So I'll go to you first, Dana.
Well, she's gonna be a one-woman Scooby-Doo gang. Get the Scooby snacks. She's gonna start doing, you know, that's a band, and she can never let that go. Even though this whole concept and thing was just a hot mess, she's gonna open up her own investigation and think that she knows everything. And just like Jabari, she's gonna follow the footsteps of Jabari, and they're gonna kill her.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think Carrie's going out?
What is her purpose? Well, literally, what is her purpose?
She's with Zeke. She's Zeke's motivation.
And his distraction as well.
His motivation, his distraction, and more reason to stay away from what Monet is planning. Mm-hmm. So killing her would be a great thing. And literally, she is. I'm not going to say she's dumb, but she's a little not that smart when it comes to the men department. You know.
I wanted to make a comment on this, and I don't want to be controversial here, but I have to ask if you both noticed this. The scene where Carrie is about to meet up with Kevin, who is the police officer, and she mentions to the therapist, yes, this Kevin guy is good. He's grown, he's mature. And I think about, she's referring to the previous relationships, which is Jabari and Zeke, who are both black men. So I looked at that and I was wondering, is anybody going to be a little offended by that? Because I wanted to get y'all opinion on it. It's controversial, but I wanted to ask the question because I don't know if anyone else is going to ask that question. But I found it interesting. You know, you're talking about this other guy. Yes, is a white guy. Nothing wrong with that. But I just was curious. Did y'all catch that? And what did you think about that?
I thought of it as something different. I thought of he got that income. He has benefits. 401k plan. He's a detective, so he can think. He has power. So there goes all of that. And I thought it was originally a dinner lunch date thing that they was having. Because she was all smiling like, hi, Kevin. I'm here for you. And he was all like, hi, but I'm going to play you later. You know. So I think that she, I don't like to say this, but she is the kind of person who maybe if a man smiles at her, she'll follow.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that you're dealing with students, that also shows me that you don't have any kind of built-in system where you know what's right and wrong. You're following, and I don't know, you college student, everyone's legal, that's fine. But there's still a morality thing where I'm with my student. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not so much of the age. I don't care about the ages. I care about this is my student. So her question in men is questionable to me. And anyone that says, hey, you look good in that dress. Okay, well, let's go date. That's what I feel that she would do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, what was you going to say real quick?
I just want to say, the character is very, what's the correct word? Promiscuous, I guess.
No, you can't say that.
They can't say that.
What, is that not allowed no more?
No.
Wow.
Okay, well, let's just say the character is always, because she has an issue with the therapist. I would assume the issue is getting into these different relationships. So that comment about her, because again, she's meeting up with this guy, and you're just thinking about, oh, well, this is someone who I used to date. This could be a new relationship. You know, you're thinking too much about this stuff when you should be concerned about. We need to focus on what's happening now with the kids, not focused on I always have to have a man, all this other stuff. Because she was just talking about, oh, I'm not going to mess around with Zeke anymore. In this episode later, they hook up again. So. And that was a reaction, obviously, to seeing Jabari. But I do want to add this, and then we'll go to you, Gary. I did laugh, and I must admit, I laughed at the scene where she had the reaction to Jabari, because I'm like, this is maybe the only character on the show that cares about a Jabari that much. So I laughed when I saw that, and then you saw even the detective was like, "Well, hold on, this looked like was a lot more personal than just a coworker," and I laughed at that. So that was funny. That was funny. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I think, we really just saw her inner conflicts throughout this whole episode, because I think, the phone call Dana was talking about when she was telling her therapist, about the guy she's meeting and everything. I think that was the part of her consciousness, knowing that she's doing the wrong thing by being with Zeke. And then, of course, the Monet, threatening her, that kind of plays into her insecurities about that situation now. So I think she was looking at it as like, this is her chance to have a straight relationship, like with, with somebody decent, like somebody, who's not a student and someone who's not potentially going to get her incarcerated or something, So I think she was being very hopeful that this is her way into an ideal situation. But then it all came crumbling down when she saw Jabari, dead, and then that it made her vulnerable. So then when Zeke showed up, she just slipped right back into, being with Zeke, like, because she needed, that she needed someone, she needed that comfort. Yeah, exactly.
So. And she knew she wasn't going to do anything with Kevin after he had the comment and say, well, we know you like to mix business and pleasure often, because he made a comment to that effect in that same, when he saw her reaction after with Jabari. So we knew she wasn't going to mess with him again after that.
I think he's still open to something, though.
I think so too.
I think once he realized that, she's into me, like, so I think he's gonna go back and revisit that at some point.
Yeah,
I view it as part of the Scooby-Doo investigation she's gonna do. That she's gonna probably, get real nice and soft and sweet for him in order to get information. Also, because that's just kind of how she is. So,
or he could also do that to her as well. Like,
I think it's a two-way thing, because we'll talk about the end, and in order for that ending to have more information, you have to go to the teacher, because who is the connection right now with everything that happened with Jabari, the school, and then that phone call at the end? It's Carrie.
Yep. And let me add one other quick point is that to go to what I believe, Gary, you said this earlier, is either you or Dana said it earlier. I believe it was you, Gary, about Tariq and his involvement in all of this. Last season, we know that Carrie felt very sympathetic towards Tariq. So I feel like he could be very manipulative with that, because I believe he acknowledged that. So I don't think that he would. Yeah, she is a threat to him, obviously, but I think he has a way of making sure that he is able to keep her at arm's length because of that relationship that they had from last season.
Yeah, like she adores him, like not in that way, but like she she really thinks the world. she thinks highly of Tariq. So I think he can, use that act to manipulate her and, keep her away from the truth a little bit.
For now.
Yeah. So let's get right into, the final question, which, because we just set that up so beautifully. So, we saw what happened at the end. Tariq, he thinks his mother's calling on the burner phone, but it's actually the cops, and they track his location. So now they know that the last known, was it text or phone call that made that, contacted the Jabari was from the campus. So now they've made that connection, and the investigation is going to be 100% on the campus now. They know that, the suspect is likely there. So what do you think is going to, happen next? Like, because obviously it's catching up to him. We saw throughout the whole episode, he was kind of confident that he covered his tracks and nobody would know that, it was him. He even, boldly lied to Monet, saying, that he had nothing to do with it. But now, everything is going to be hot. You know, the whole campus is going to be hot. It's going to be hard to move the products now. So, you know, once Monet sees that, he's going to have difficulty moving the product because of the investigation. You know, she's going to be curious about what's going on, and you know, she might start asking some questions. So, you know, what do you think? How do you think this is going to pan out from here? So I'll go to you first this time, Rich. What do you think?
Well, that's a very good question, and that's what makes this a very good season premiere because it sets up everything. So obviously, the investigation shifts once again to the campus. I believe it was already under investigation because of the murder that happened last season. So now they're going to really try to narrow and pinpoint down who on the campus knows everything. And to go to what Dana said earlier, yeah, Carrie, her job was now to give this detective guy Kevin a list of all the students that was in the class, etc. So they're gonna definitely, I would assume, question Tariq and the others about what they know about what happened. But yes, it puts a lot of heat on the school, a lot of heat on Tariq because he had just got the product from Monet at the end of this episode to sell, and also putting the product in Braden's car, which I also believe is a sign of what's to come because police probably gonna find something in that car, the product in the car, and Braden's in trouble. But it's gonna put a lot of pressure on him because it felt like, as you said, Gary, he covered his tracks this episode. He didn't have to worry about anything, and then he lied, and he also told Kane, don't need to worry about nothing. I ain't gonna say nothing. You ain't gonna say nothing. We'll be fine. So now it shakes things up, and it's great because it's going to keep people watching to guess what's going to happen next. I can't make a prediction as to what I think is going to happen yet because I think there's some other things that have to happen. I will say this though. I do expect to see 2-Bit again this season. I find it interesting how that's another issue that Tariq has to deal with. He was supposed to pay him back, and I guess we can assume that happened because we didn't see 2-Bit yet. But 2-Bit, he also was the one that disposed of that body and killed the other guy. So that is also going to be something that is on Tariq for the rest of this season because he's going to have to deal with 2-Bit again. So
did he not pay him off? I thought he paid him off.
That must have happened off camera because we didn't see that. We didn't see that because all the stuff that was happening with the trial, the focus of the finale was on Tasha and what happens next and Tommy coming back and all this other stuff. So we'll probably get an answer for that, though, I would assume, as the season goes on because that actor is still very much involved with the show. So we'll see.
Yeah, he'll definitely show up. But Dana, what do you think is going to happen, with this whole investigation coming to the campus, and how will it affect Tariq?
The Scooby-Doo gang. No, we have with Kevin, with that whole conversation with Kevin, and they was with the whiteboard, and they knew directly, it connects to the school. I really loved that. I was slightly confused at first because I thought that was Jabari's original phone. Because why would the phone? I just didn't understand how they would get the number to Tariq's phone.
That, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because I was confused about that as well. And what I assume is that, I guess maybe they found that Jabari had his phone still on him. I mean, I would have to go back and watch that in case in events. Excuse me. Unless someone in the comments is able to pinpoint that and make mention of that, because I did also think that was Jabari's phone. But my thought is if the police found the phone and they saw the last known calls, they would be like, wait a second, this is the last known person that called him. Let's just call this number. So I figured that could have been. That's what I figured. But I did think at first, wait, is that Jabari's phone? Because you saw him delete the conversation. So it was still his phone, obviously, but yeah, that's how I guess they were able to track and find out who was the last person that called them.
Yeah, I think, because I was confused. I think that.
Didn't he switch the SIM card or something?
He did.
I know he switched, yeah. But we do know that Tariq took Jabari's phone. That we physically know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So then they must have somehow gotten the phone number, or it was a
phone
regular
records
phone.
Or something.
A regular, I forget, this is not in the drug game, so he has a regular phone that's registered, and so they just called the phone, and that's how they know of who is in possession with the phone, and the fact
that makes sense. But I will question Tariq and say, if that was Jabari's phone, why
did you answer
the phone? That's what I thought at the end of the episode. Why the hell would you answer that phone?
Because what I thought happened was I thought that he was using his burner and he thought it was his mom calling, and that's why he answered. That's what I thought happened. But because it makes no sense, why would you answer then? If it is Jabari, it's like that's just that's stupid.
So I don't know who I don't know who has possession of the phone, and online people are saying that he didn't take the phone, so the cops have it, and then some are saying that it was Jabari's phone. I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna go with the concept that he took Jabari's phone, or he didn't take Jabari's phone, and he went to the phone, and that was the last phone call. I don't know. That whole thing was weird. Yes.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I guess that's the best way to basically figure out what happened and just come to the conclusion that they somehow accessed phone records and saw this is the last known number. Let's call this number. Also,
the text. Unless Tariq is that stupid and think that when you delete the text, it erases on both sides. Like we saw the man. You talked about this before. He's very easily took down the congressman on the issue of race and drugs, but stupid phone.
Yeah, because they have to show that he still makes a lot of mistakes because he's still young in all of this. But I'm curious to see what people have to say about that as they're commenting on the show, because I definitely was confused as you was, Dana, about that phone thing, and I just assumed that they got access to some records and that's how they found out. But you
don't even have the access to the records. If he has the call and you're on your phone and you go right into phone and you go into history, because we know that was the last conversation before he got in that park and everyone was hilarious. Yeah. So you just go into the log and you see the phone. But okay, sorry, I forgot what the original question was. That really frustrated me.
No, it's just what you think is going to happen, with the investigation and. Tariq,
with the investigation, you're going to have multiple people going around. So you have Tariq knowing that he screwed up with the phone situation, right? So he's now going to be hiding and ducking and diving and scared. I don't know if this means he's going to end up running to Kane, but he could end up running to Kane now. And so now you have Kane, who probably will end up involving Mecca, because Monet doesn't want to say anything, and because Tariq already has withheld information from Monet, she might be in the dark, which further proves this theory of being isolated. So that's going on there. You have Carrie and her Scooby-Doo gang of one going and trying to track down what really happened to Jabari. We know that she's not going to give that up at all. So she's going to get involved with that as well. You could probably say that she'll end up finding out, because remember, Jabari was blackmailing him with that whole book situation. And we do know that Jabari last wanted to write a book, but we didn't know exactly what it was about. But also remember, he plagiarized what he did present. So I wonder if that will come up as well, and that they will match it to Tariq.
It feels like that. What you just said, it feels like that has to happen, because otherwise it wouldn't make any kind of sense to have that storyline of him writing this book and it never sees the light of day, or none of the stuff is put out there. So that might, because even Tariq didn't even know that book was happening either. So yeah, we'll see. That's a great question. But Carrie could discover that, and that may,
Yeah, I don't think she's going to be a complete invalid this year. I think she's gonna find out things, but I just want her to die. So we have that. We also have Kevin narrowing it down to just the school. So that takes out a lot of different things. So he's going to focus on the school. And then you have the situation with the congressman that we do know, Lorenz Tate. That whole thing was hilarious. With Lorenz Tate trying to go after the congressman. And we know that the congressman has connections with Braden, who has connections with Tariq. I like how they put all these connections and things together. So I do wonder if Tariq is going to have to open up more to Braden, and if Braden is going to stupidly go to his Congress friend, Uncle Rick, and be like, here's a situation that I'm in. Could you help me out? Because Braden,
That's possible. Continue. Continue.
I feel that they're not going to just have all of these different characters without fully showing everything that's going to like how they can impact and help. Like, you remember how it opened up with Braden in the car, and he's like, yeah, family comes with attachments. Maybe he's going to start using those the family for his own thing that he's going through. So him wanting to break away, maybe he can't fully break away from the family. So now it's like, how can I use them too in order to help with the situation? So that can also help. And it can go with him. If Eric does do something that's sleazy and grimy, Tate will be right there to follow through and to investigate on that. And so he can take his place. So I feel that this one murder could have a domino effect. And also we end up connecting it to the guy who was originally killed in the pool. Because remember, they thought it was the Tajadas. It's not the Tajadas. And so how that will play off as well. And so I believe kind of that is what we're going to end up focusing on in the season.
Yeah, it'll definitely play a big part in this season, I think. But yeah, great points overall. Great show. Definitely, I want to see what the comment gang have to say about these things, because I know they all have some great insight to add and everything, and we appreciate it. So yeah, just want to do some house cleaning real quick before we end off the show. We are thecoalition.com. Definitely check out the website, and if you're listening on YouTube and you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing as well. We have a lot of, content where we cover movies, TV shows, games, wrestling, a lot of stuff. So if you like the content, please, take your time to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, we're also on Spotify. We are on Facebook podcasts now as well. We are on Amazon, and, of course, Apple, iTunes, we're on there as well. I want to give a big shout out to, the listenership. I see a lot of people, more people than we realize listen to this. We're actually pretty big in the continent of Africa, places like Ghana and stuff. They listen to us, a lot. Like, I see that we're actually really high on the charts. So shouts to all the people listening to us, internationally, globally. Big ups to Jamaica as well, because we get a lot of listens over there. So, so yeah, just wanted to take that time to let everyone know, this is a weekly show that we cover, while Power is on TV. We this is a weekly show. So definitely come back and listen again next week when we cover episode 2. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the house cleaning, unless you guys had something else you wanted to add to that as well, or any announcements or anything.
There is an episode Dana. With 50 Cent on the site, and he does talk about Power in relation to BMF.
Oh, yeah. Definitely check out those interviews. Dana does a lot of interviews, so, she takes a lot of time, and care and consideration is put into the content. So definitely, go check that out. And shouts to you, Dana, also. But yeah, we're going to get straight into our shout outs now. So, Rich, you got any shout outs?
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to you both. Great show as always. Shout out to all the listeners and the supporters that are coming back to check out Power. Please feel free. Please do check out Dana's interviews. The BMF interview that went up today is a very good interview. And of course, check out her interview with 50 Cent as well on the website. We have more things that are coming in addition to Powercast, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I just thank everybody for your continued support, and I definitely hope if you are celebrating that you have a happy and safe Thanksgiving next week. And we will, of course, be back with Powercast next weekend.
Oh yeah, for sure. I completely forgot, Thanksgiving is coming up for you guys. We don't celebrate over here, but yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
America's thankful to get away from the UK.
You say that, but I don't think you are. I think you really love us. You want us to come back over there and take over. But yeah, you know, I hope everyone enjoys it. You know, don't go too crazy on Black Friday also. Yeah, and just, yeah, take care of yourselves. And Dana, any shout outs for you?
No, just shout outs to the listeners and everyone who's watching. We have a lot more content that is coming up. We do have the BMF interviews, both the video, which is on the YouTube site, and on the website, we have the 50 Cent one. There will be a lot more interviews that'll be streamlined along in regards to BMF in season 2, how that's going to work out. And also, we do have Hawkeye, which is coming up on the 24th of November as well. I have interviewed the entire cast, including Kevin Feige, and also there is going to be another press conference, which I cannot say regarding who, but it's with the other parts of Hawkeye and how that will trickle into other TV shows.
Wow.
Interesting. That's good.
Wow. Dana's covering multiple universes here. Like, crazy. But yeah. And yeah, I just want to give a big shout outs to, you know, all the supporters, you know, everyone who really loves this show, you know, and shout outs to the people who were asking if we were going to cover, you know, BMF as well. We really wanted to, it's just scheduling wise, some things didn't work out. But, you know, we do have that one review that we did, and then we're going to, you know, do something else for the finale also. And then hopefully next year we'll be able to cover that more closely. And also, if you guys love, you know, other shows like Snowfall, for example, you know, we will be covering that show when that comes out the next season. And, you know, there's a lot more Power to come. There's Force coming, you know, early next year, and we will be here for that. So, yeah. So thank you to everyone, you know, who really enjoys with the show and supports us and loves it. You know, we'll always be here to cover Power for as long as it's on TV. So go ahead, Rich. What was you going to say?
A quick comment to piggyback off of what Gary said about Snowfall. We did cover a Snowfall last season.
Yeah.
So if you, by any chance, missed that recap, the playlist for that is also on this channel. So feel free to check that out. And yeah, we will be back because I know they're actually filming the new season right now. So whenever that show returns, we will definitely return with our thoughts on those episodes as well. So stay tuned.
For sure. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. We will be back next week to cover episode 2 of Power, you know, Ghost season 2. And yeah, until then, enjoy your week. Have a good holiday. Take care, everyone.
Mm-hmm.